Good morning, guys. I speak a lot about my life and about the events that have shaped me and moulded me into the person that I am today, how they affected me when I was younger. One of those things that I speak about is my adoption, how it affected me, how it affected my mind, and how it broke me, and how I became the person that I was, and how that sent me on a journey. One of the things I don't speak about much is how it affected other people. So I wanted to look at the other side of that, and I wanted to acknowledge some of these other people. I know how it affected my biological mum because I spoke to her about it before she passed away. I've spoken to some of my other biological family about it, and I know how that felt for them not having me around. But I also know how it felt, and I can sort of empathise on how it felt with my adopted mum and dad, whom I love very much, by the way. My relationship with them hasn't always been easy. It's been strained to a point because of the way that I have been. I only ever remember seeing my adopted mum cry once, and that was on the day that she told me I was adopted. The day that she had to tell me I was adopted. I know I was adopted in the April. They'd fostered me for all those years, and I think it was part of the court that they had to tell me that I was adopted. I'd always known them as my mum and dad, and I will always know them as my mum and dad. I love them very much, but as I say, the way that I was as a person, I blamed a lot of my life on not being wanted, because that's what I thought, and I now know that to be not true. I was wanted by my biological mum, I was wanted by my biological family, but I was also wanted and loved and spoiled to a certain extent, very, very much, by my adopted family, by my adopted mother, by my adopted father, and my sister, who I've always called mum, dad, and sister. My mum, a very stoic woman, who very rarely showed emotion around me. I'm sure there are times, but I never remember her crying in front of me. She's not that sort of woman. But I do remember the tears that she had in her eyes when she told me that I was adopted. And I remember the look of sadness on my dad's face as he peered over his glasses and over the newspaper as I was sat on my mum's knee. And I know and I understand how hard that must have been. I've got stepkids, and I know how hard it is to not always know how they're feeling about me being their parent. I try and be a good parent, the best parent that I can be, and I fail. At times I fail. But I just wanted to say that my mum and dad have always been in my life. I stayed away for a long time. I was stubborn. I didn't know how to communicate. I was embarrassed at the way that I treated them. Bearing in mind they'd seen me go from the good little boy to the young man that I became, the bitter, resentful, hateful drug addict. trauma-filled drug addict that I became, that I didn't know how to I didn't know how to heal, and how they must have felt about seeing the boy that they loved tear himself apart, and how it must have felt for them when I found my biological mum. And they always said that they would support me. You know, they would always say it wouldn't put them off or anything like that, that they knew that one day I would want to find my biological family, and I did back in 2009, I think it was, and I was blessed to be able to have a little bit of time with my mum before we lost her in 2017, and some time with my family, with my brother and sister and my cousins. And they only saw some of what I showed them, but they did see a little bit of that addict, that selfish person, that dishonest person. And I disappointed them. I know I did, and I've tried, I've made amends with a lot of them, and I try to maintain a relationship with them. So yeah, I just wanted to make that straight, that although I don't have great communication with either of my families, to be honest, Facebook is a great tool for keeping in touch with them. And my mum and dad, my adoptive mum and dad, they both have their own medical problems, and I'm not able to communicate as well as I should be able to, or could be able to, or want to, and I know that it must be hard for them. I don't want to go and speak into their business, because that's not my place. But I do love them, and I do love everybody, and I have tried to, in sobriety, make amends to those around me, and I really do try, and there's some that I need to try more with, I understand that. But I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that it's not always easy to communicate with people. And I know I speak a lot, and I know I talk a lot about a lot of things, but that's just the way my head is. I'm not always able to have dialogue with people, because I'm not always able to get out my feelings. I find this difficult at times as well, but I do find it easier than face to face, I guess. So yeah, that's the other side of that part of the story, and I will go into the other side of other stories that I think I should go into, and how acknowledge how other people may have felt, and how they probably did feel. Because it's not just about me, is it? It's not just about me. It's my journey and the roads that I've walked, but the people within my life that I've affected, and I've not always been a good, well-intentioned person because of the way that I was. And all I can do is just apologise from the bottom of my heart to the people that I've hurt within my family. I love you all.